What's up, Georgia Tech fans? We are back. My name is Bryce Koon. This is Swarm Talk brought to you by The Crowded Booth. And we can't wait to talk. Georgia Tech's 2023 schedule has officially dropped, and so we're going to take a little reaction. What do we think? Is it way too early to make a prediction? I don't know. We're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of Swarm Talk brought to you by The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
What's up, everybody? So glad that you decided to join us on a fantastic January, maybe February, if you're watching this on the next day or following. If you are watching it and you're a Georgia Tech fan, you're saying, who is this? Now, this guy thought that he was going to be talking about LSU now. What's the deal? Well, yes, it is true. I full-time do work for 24/7 Sports covering LSU, but if you followed from here anytime, we do cover Georgia Tech as well. I was on the Georgia Tech beat for almost 4 years, in fact, covering the Yellow Jackets. And so I said, hey, we're having this fun thing with The Crowded Booth, which is a sports talk show based out of my hometown in Columbus, Georgia. We cover Braves. We cover a little bit of Falcons, but we cover college football as well in whole, and a big portion of it is the Georgia Tech show. So we want to continue to keep that rolling. We're not going anywhere. Just, hey, had a lot of things going on. We're settling down. We're back at it, and we're going to do some live shows and bring you all back in. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what we can do with this show. The second thing, you say, Bryce, I kind of like that pullover, that little golf pullover you got on. This is Proud 90. Might be a potential sponsor. We might be able to get you a coupon code here in the very near future. They've got some great polos, these awesome, very comfortable pullovers, perfect for this time of the year if you're golfing, especially not right now. Kind of rainy, a little cold out right now. But we're here to talk today, and I want to encourage you, last thing, subscribe to the channel. I think we're around 1,570 on the subscriber margin. Let's get to 1,600 with this video, and I'd love to see if we can get 50 likes. It's been a while. Let's see if we can get 50 likes, see what we can do from there. We're talking Georgia Tech's schedule. Now, look, you might say, Bryce, have you been gone too long? Do you even know what's going on the Flats? And yes, I still only live an hour and a half away from the Flats. But this is where I want to talk about this schedule, because for the first time, folks, we can look at this schedule and say, we can breathe. We can take a deep breath. We don't have to stress out over these ridiculous non-conference games. Now, look, yes, you're going to have to play Georgia, and you're going to play Ole Miss. But this team's better than last year's. I'm talking about Georgia Tech's team. So it's not as like you're going into those thinking, oh, no, here we go. But the big thing is I really do like how this schedule shaped up. There are winnable games on the front end. There's a stretch of ACC games where I think they could rattle off maybe one, maybe two, maybe three wins in a row. And then there's also, the challenge games, which you want to have. Look, as Georgia Tech begins this and tries to begin this ascent with Brent Key at the helm, you want to challenge yourselves against the cream of the crop. You want to go against the better teams. To beat the man, you have to be the man. Flip that wrong. To be the man, you got to beat the man. So let's kind of break it down here as we talk about this schedule. The new scheduling model, the 3-3-5, we kind of talked about that last year when it came out. But if you don't know what that means, is essentially what you're going to have is you're going to have your three opponents that you play, and then you're going to rotate. So the goal is that it should never be a player on campus, if he stays all 4 years, that does not see an opponent. So let's roll, let's rock and roll, let's talk about this. We're going to bring it up right here on the screen, and I think it's really important. I don't like that view, so we're going to keep it rolling with this one here. I'll make myself smaller to make the schedule bigger. Now, Georgia Tech starts out with a game against Louisville. Now, listen, Louisville is in the midst of a weird transition. Obviously, Jeff Brom, now the head coach of the Cardinal. This is a game where I don't want to say that this is what's going to happen. They're going to win this football game. Is it a winnable game, though? It definitely is. Now, we're going to have to, this is way too early. We don't know what any teams look like. We don't know who the starting quarterback at Georgia Tech is going to be. Is it going to be Zach Byron? Does Haynes King come in the fold? I mean, we don't know right now. But this game against Louisville is winnable. This is a winnable game to kick off the season in Mercedes-Benz, and two, you're going to have national eyes on this game. This is an important one Why, in my opinion, is the first game most important for Georgia Tech this season? Because all of this, the jokes, the memes, the making fun of your rivals do of you, on a national stage, you could turn the tide. Do you folks remember when we sat in Mercedes-Benz last year and a poor coaching effort, the timeouts, the Dabo Swinney memes in the same stadium on a national profile game, and Georgia Tech was made to look like a fool? This is an opportunity under new leadership as a whole, head coach, new coaching changes that have been made, a new athletic director, brand new start, fresh slate it feels like. And in this sense, you can rewrite some of those. You can establish the new identity day one, and that's on September the 1st. We take it next week. Obviously, they're playing South Carolina State. That's the FCS game. I'd love to see this team go out and dominate. Did not do that against Western Carolina this year. Nasty weather in that game, but still, this is a game you'd love to see them dominate. Then the trip to Ole Miss. Now, going to Oxford is going to be no easy task. Lane Kiffin, I said it last season with what Lane Kiffin did with Ole Miss coming to Atlanta. This is one of the best offensive minds in college football. Yes, they are going to have lost some pieces, but they still have a lot of talent. And I'll tell you one thing, they have three capable quarterbacks on that roster that could beat this Georgia Tech team. Almost at LSU for a second. Apologies. Sorry about that. But Ole Miss, in this sense, is a game where I don't think Georgia Tech is expected to win. I don't think that from a national standpoint that they will be, and that makes sense. But is it winnable? Of course it's winnable. It's a winnable game. I don't think that Ole Miss is going to be I don't see it being as dominant of a loss or dominant as a win in Ole Miss's perspective as it was in Atlanta in 2022. So is it winnable? Sure, it's a winnable game. Not very likely, in my opinion. But look, once again, we have a lot of time to see how this shakes out. That's September. It's January, February right now. This is a way too early look at Georgia Tech's schedule. Then they go on the road to Wake Forest. Now, I love this game in the sense this is an opportunity to establish yourself on the road in the ACC very early in the season. It's still the month of September. It's an opportunity to go on the road against a team that has had recent success at the top of the ACC in the Demon Deacons. Now, look, the roster's going to look different for Wake Forest. This is not a Sam Hartman-led Demon Deacon squad, but still, this is an opportunity to go beat a team that, listen, we've talked so much about this, the academic, rigor of a Wake Forest. They found a way out to have, now it's not up to the same standards maybe as a Georgia Tech, but it's still a very, very good school. They found a way to make opportunities and create things for themselves. This is a chance for Georgia Tech to go into their house and win this game. Once again, a very winnable game right now at this juncture, in my opinion. You come back home against Bowling Green. Look, it is about time. It's about time that Georgia Tech played a Group of 5 team that wasn't on the edge of the Group of 5 and Power 5, and I'm looking at UCF. I like this. You have to have these type of games, especially in a situation where Georgia Tech is. So I love those two games that you have right there. I think that this is a chance for Georgia Tech to have 2 easy wins in the first 5 games. If you beat Wake Forest, that's 3-2. If you don't win Louisville, if you beat Louisville, that's 4-1 against Ole Miss. I don't see them beating Ole Miss right now. But like I said, a lot of things can change. You then start the month of October on the road at Miami for whatever reason, even during the previous regime's stint. Going to Miami wasn't all that scary. Miami's going to have a lot of talent. It's never been a question of the talent at Miami. It's how they come together. It'll be interesting to see. But is it a winnable game right now as we look at it in January and February? Yes, it is a winnable game until proven otherwise. You host Boston College. Coming off a terrible year for Boston College, I think this is a good home game, a good chance to get back home and set yourself up for a game against North Carolina that Georgia Tech's just had their number the past 2 years. The running jokes, Nate McCollum will come back to Atlanta. But in this game, you have an opportunity to go 2-0 in a 2-week stretch that I think is huge for bowl implications. Boston College, I think that could be obviously a win. North Carolina will be an interesting one, but like we've always joked about and talked about, even in the recap show we did live after the game, Georgia Tech's had North Carolina's number. We'll see how it pans out. Drake May is still there. You got to think this kid's still talented, but does he have the same weapons around him? We'll see what that looks like. Then they're going to go to Charlottesville on the 4th of November. This is another game that I think has to be a winnable game. A little bit of a revenge game. Brennan Armstrong's no longer there. This is a game where you got to go into their house after they came into your house in one of the ugliest displays of college football I have ever witnessed on a Thursday night in Bobby Dodd. Go up there, you beat them in their place. That would be fantastic. And then November 11th. Now look, we're going to talk about this. Syracuse is on the 18th. That's a winnable football game. The two games here, how would you rather have it? This is a genuine question on my part. Clemson at the beginning of the season like we saw in 2022, or Clemson and Georgia in a 3-week span? Do you want these games? Where do you like the placement of that game? That's something that's going to be really interesting to monitor as this scheduling continues to take a step up and we see more arrangements of it, the 2024 version, the 2025 version. What will that look like? So I think in this sense, when I look at this, and if you say, Bryce, what are you looking at? I'm looking at my monitor right here. You're right here. Clemson on the 11th. Listen, I don't know. I've said this last year, and this is what I'll say about the Clemson game. Georgia Tech had the best chance to upset Clemson because they played them game 1. Clemson, to me, and I just feel like this, if they're going to have a good season, the longer that you play them, the longer you have to wait to play them, they feel like they have more of an identity. They're going to have Cade Klubnik at quarterback this year. They're a better team for that. We saw that in game 1 last year when he led that drive late in the game against Georgia Tech. You got to go play him there. It's a tough place to win. Hopefully, and I'll say this, the hope is, and they round it out with Syracuse, and they host Georgia on the 25th. Get your tickets now. Do not sell them to Georgia fans. Don't do it. This is where I'll round this out as we just have a quick episode kind of coming back into it. In my opinion with this, the games against Clemson and Georgia are important. Now hear me, they are important. But what they shouldn't be in this 2023 season, they shouldn't have to be won to go to a bowl game. Your bowl game opportunities cannot hinge on beating Clemson and Georgia this year. You have to take care of business against your FCS and your Group of 5 opponent. That's 2 wins. If you go on the road and beat a Wake Forest, you beat Boston College. That's 4 wins. I love them beating a Virginia right here. That's 5. You're telling me that you have to find a 6th win out of Louisville, Ole Miss, Syracuse, North Carolina, and Miami. You better find one. To me, 6-6 is the floor for this team. Now, look, we're going to get more into position battles. We're going to talk kind of early opportunities of what it would look like. But I just want to say for this sense right here, if you're Georgia Tech, you cannot let the Clemson and Georgia game determine if you're going to a bowl game or not. You want to have that solidified well before November the 11th. And they can do this. This schedule is manageable, and I think it plays to a first-year, full-time head coach in Brent Key. Key has his everything at his disposal to get ready to make this transformation for this team in 2023. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be really, really, I'm going to keep tabs on it. And if you don't think I will, we're going to keep operating in the Discord chat. We're going to keep doing these shows. And I'm going to tell you one thing. It's going to be a lot of fun for me to watch from Baton Rouge, for you to watch for wherever you may be, because we know the Georgia Tech family, the Georgia Tech fan base does not just live within the perimeter. We cannot wait to keep talking about Georgia Tech. My name is Bryce Koon. This is Swarm Talk. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. What did you think of Georgia Tech's schedule release? How do you think they fare? To me, it's a minimum of 6-6. Go from there and work up. I really like the way the schedule played out for Georgia Tech. I think they have a really good shot at going to bowl game this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch and monitor. Look, we're going to recap the transfer portal class. We're going to recap the signing day, with anything that pops off here. Yeah, I'm not paying attention as much as I was on the beat, but we're still going to be doing this show, kind of a more of a fans reaction type of show. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for you to join along and do that. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Rec Talk. He does a fantastic job over on his channel. Make sure to check him out. Sea-Dog as well. They continue to have this community tight-knit and do a lot of fun things. Can't wait for it. We'll see you next time here on Swamp Talk.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.